not just anybody. Help, you know I need someone. Help, I need somebody. Help, not just anybody. Help, you know I need someone. Help, I need somebody. Help, not just anybody. Help, you know I need someone. Help, I need somebody. Help, not just anybody.
because there's 5 people, each one of them are paying 200,000 it says, paid more than 200,000 for a Titanic work expedition. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather go down to the Titanic or would you rather go into space?
Space.
Because if you're paying that amount of money, would you rather go into space?
I would say space.
Space for me.
Me
Definitely.
As well.
I want to do space, and then
Not that I've got that type of money. But
then when I come
well,
down,
the locals, I should just take some money from you guys, and I could contact my buddy Elon Musk and say, "Hey, buddy, I want a seat."
Let's contact our new neighbor.
Have you ever seen where they've taken somebody so high up that they're almost in space? Not quite in space, but almost there, and they're in like a moon suit, and they actually jump out like skydiving. Oh yes.
You'd like to do that?
Yeah.
Have you done skydiving?
You could take your chickens.
I've done the I've done the iFly before. Have you done that?
No.
It's kind of like fake skydiving. Basically a wind tunnel.
Have you done that? On that wind tunnel?
It was fun.
Is it fun?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed
And
it.
you did the flips and all that stuff?
No. It's not as easy as you think.
Not somebody like you, adaptable, sporting, and
My daughter
believe
has
that.
done 3 skydivings.
Really?
Exercises. Yeah.
because apparently
So she needs 2 more so she can skydive on her own.
Oh, you have to do it in the machine first?
No, literally jumping off a plane.
She's done real
it-
skydiving.
Oh, jumping off a plane.
Yeah, she's done it 3 times.
Unlike the belly of somebody.
Attached to somebody.
Yeah.
Yep.
So she needs 2 more so she can skydive on her own.
How old is she?
23.
Oh, that's old enough.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you poor kid at 5 that you're pushing off a plane.
I haven't done it. I think, you know what? That's what I'm going to do for my birthday this year.
Invite me. I
It's
want
on.
to.
Oh, here we go.
That'll be next month. You want to join, Stephen?
No, absolutely not.
Why not?
No.
It's sad that
Pouring
these
a pair of ice skates on one of one Olympics was frightening enough, so that's okay. Anyway,
it's so sad that these people are down there and paid money, and they might have paid for their own death.
absolutely.
That's
I mean,
But have you seen the actual submarine? And it was controlled by a video game controller.
Yeah.
So, like,
Really?
Yes.
it's been described.
Wow.
It's been described as a tube with a joystick that controls where it goes.
This is what it's controlled with.
Is there a respawn button?
Yeah, but
Is that too soon? I'm sorry.
Because after a certain point, though, you kind of have to think about the fact that it's like, okay, I'm not going somewhere where the only thing that controls it looks like this.
But do you know it's going to be a real... When this is investigated, all right, because I think it'll be investigated whether people live or die, unfortunately,
Yeah.
is people are going to say, can we see the maintenance records for this vehicle? And they're going to bring up a what?
The controller.
A game control.
And I mean, for this to fit 5 people is crazy. But did you guys hear about the man who survived 3 days underwater?
3 days underwater.
Yeah, because
What was he doing?
his submarine flipped.
It wasn't a submarine. That was actually in like a tug. It was on a tug, and he was actually sleeping when it flipped, and he was in complete darkness for about 3 days. But he had enough oxygen down there; it had created a big air bubble, and so he was actually able to survive. But he was actually floating around in there with his dead friends, unfortunately.
Yeah, and he had to eat fish.
Raw fish, bit of sushi while he's down
Well, I
there.
was thinking sushi. That won't be so bad. As long as there's no blowfish there.
Something about billionaires and submarines just rubs me the wrong way, because there was a billionaire who built his own submarine like a few years ago, and he was like Danish or something, and he built it specifically to murder someone because he got a reporter, and she was like, oh, this is so great, this is so cool. They went in the submarine, and then he came back, but the submarine and the girl were missing, and he said that she, like, it got lost at sea, but then they found it, and she had, like, stab wounds and everything, and I'm just like, why? What's up with billionaires and submarines? Why? What's going on?
Well, to be a millionaire, I think you've got to be a little bit of a weirdo anyway.
Yeah. And this guy was getting sued, right?
So,
That's what billionaires are for.
also, the water pressure at 3,800 meters of depth is about the same. It's about 6,000 psi. It's about the same as having 35 elephants on your shoulder. That's a lot of pressure. So even if they were to find them, how does the rescue work for that?
I don't know. Because you have to go up slowly, right? There's no way that you'll have to lift them so that they get reacclimated. Less elephants.
Yes, but at the same time, they're in a chamber that doesn't really show that. So you have to have some way to transfer them
But there
from
must have
one
been-
to the other.
But there must have been some way of them to, I would have thought, to pressure test that vehicle. Because
I
it wasn't
hope
the
so.
first time it's been down to the Titanic, apparently. It's been down before.
That's just crazy.
If you decided to go down to the Titanic, do you think it's a question that you would ask the company? Have you done this before?
probably be a good idea to ask that.
Would you?
Yeah, I would say so.
And I
want
mean,
defeated.
on top of this, the Ocean Gate CEO is being sued by a couple because they're claiming fraud. They were actually kept paying money, and they were actually supposed to go down on the submarine, and they kept pushing it back. So if they keep pushing it back, that would already give me the heebie-jeebies. Like, I'd be like, why are they pushing it back?
So you're trying to say that this could be, or maybe, this is just our opinion, folks, a setup? Do you think it could be?
Not a setup. I think maybe a rushed hurry up to make money kind of thing, which is pretty much every company in a nutshell. What?
Exactly.
Says Ocean Gate CEO reveals Titanic submersible built with camping parts. I hope the only thing that's a camping part is a roll-out mattress in there.
What would that be for?
To sleep.
Well, yeah, but if you're going down there, well, I mean, the whole point was, wouldn't you want to see what's around it? I mean, I think the Titanic has been completely ravaged anyway. You understand? Like the original videos that you've seen had all the cutlery and all the different things that was there. Well, all that's been taken out now. Now there's a Titanic museum that travels around the world. There's a lot of things from the Titanic that's been pulled, and it's like, what are you seeing? You're just seeing a half broken ship and fish.
Well, not only that, you can't see it on a huge scale. It's so dark down there. You have to have lights. So
Right.
realistically, how well do you see?
Anyway,
So, moving on.
Anyway,
I hope,
moving on.
I hope they find and
I do
rescue
too.
them. I
I do
really
too.
do.
I
You
do
got
too.
20 hours max.
Guess
Air.
that's a guesstimate.
Yeah.
They've got 20 hours left.
Max.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, 20 hours.
It's not looking good.
That's less than a day.
It is? You sure, man?
No, like, we're officially less than a day. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just talk about more Americans are getting auto loans that exceed the worth of their cars. What's your feeling on that? They're getting auto loans that exceed the actual value of the car.
Well, I mean, think of it this way. We used to have only a max of 5 years for financing for a vehicle.
And now it's gone further and further.
Yeah, I've seen 6, and then I've seen almost 7. I've seen 80 months financing. And realistically, I mean, especially if you're buying a brand new spanking car off the lot, as soon as you drive that thing off the lot, it's already going down in value.
Mm-hmm. The
Yeah.
part that sort of hits me with this is, at one time I was one for buying fancy cars, and then I'll be honest with you, you think to yourself, no, that's not the right type of debt to buy, and then you end up buying yourself properties, and then you see the real value of it. But, you know, to be perfectly honest, I think to myself, I just wish Americans could understand the difference between good debt and bad debt, because this is bad debt.
Yes.
You know, so when you come to buy a house, what's it doing is pushing up your debt to income ratio just because you're driving around in a fancy car. And if I ever listened to my father when I was younger, I would have learnt a lot smarter. He was a lot smarter than I ever was or ever have been. He was a businessman, and he basically always said, only one problem with him, he didn't believe in debt at all. He was all a cash man. But basically, he always said, you just don't go out there, and get loans where it doesn't get a return. But at least on a house, I mean, it was, it's funny, depending on what part of the US you're in, it's on location, but in the South in general, home prices are still going up.
Yeah,
so,
we definitely did not see the dip like I thought we were going to see after COVID. Everything has kind of leveled out right now, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's evened out. I really do. But I don't know if you that article that I put in, I don't know if you've seen it or whether you can bring it up. But the average credit card debt by state in Texas and Florida is higher than anywhere else.
Does it say about how much the
down?
average person has in credit card debt?
Can you go down? Okay. Go down. There it is. Go down. There you go. You can just go up just a fraction. There you go. So basically, that's what it is. Average credit card debt by state. Look at that. Look at Texas.
I thought it was going to be more than that, to be honest with you. That's not too much in credit card debt.
Well, you see the loan apps, the one that actually surprised me with that was California. I would have thought California would have been in the green.
Like dark green.
Yeah. I mean, because houses are a lot more, cost of living's a lot more. But I was surprised to see Texas as green as it was, and not so much Florida, because I'm not a great Florida lover, but I was really surprised.
I wonder if we're going to have more houses built like family living, like, 2 houses on one lot, being able to house, 1 to 2 families. You think we'll see more of that?
Duplexes?
Yeah, kind of like duplexes.
We are seeing more duplexes in the south part of Houston. What they're doing is they're buying lots, and they're paying maybe $150 for the lot, and they're putting duplexes on them, and they're selling the duplexes for like $475, $500. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think that's doing anything for the housing economy. I'd like people to buy the houses. All I think that's doing is increasing the amount of renters, which indirectly I don't think is helping the people, if you want to.
Yeah.
I sound like somebody's, with the US Constitution, the people.
I just think about my parents, and I know probably not too far into the future they're probably going to need more help. And moving them in with me, it would be nice for them to have their own little area.
Senior home communities.
Yes. No, they
No,
don't.
carry on about your senior home communities, because I'm an expert at senior expert
Not
communities.
nursing facilities. These are
No.
apartments that'll they have people come in and clean.
different type
No,
of-
They
but
have
there's
1 or
also
2 meals a
houses.
day.
Like I know
Over
Bridge-
55s.
I know Bridgeland has a section where I think it's Bridgeland or Town Lake, where there are homes that are only sold to like seniors.
Yeah, that's a
home
55
communities,
plus
55
community.
plus
Yeah,
communities.
55 and now
Yeah.
noise curfew is at 7 p.m.
Yeah, no. The type that I think is so unfortunate in America is these communities where people need 24/7 care.
Nursing facilities.
In Europe it's expensive. My mom's in one in England, and it's costing me about $5,000 about £5,000 a month.
It's expensive, and they just don't get as good of care as if they were at home.
It's quite funny because I joke with my uncle who deals with everything in the UK. I just pay the bills, and I tell him, look, there must be I'm paying so much, there must be some money in there for my mother's toy boy, because I have to pay extra for her hairdos and she's having her nails done and everything else. And I says, come on, I can't believe her nails are costing this much. There must be a toy boy in this somewhere.
It's boy toy.
A boy toy. Whatever it is.
I'm just gonna let him say toy boy.
A boy toy.
Ken.
Back to the auto loans. I just want to stop getting in accidents. Would be nice.
Why have you got in another accident?
Yeah.
Oh, you drive like a lunatic.
Hey, somebody hit me. They turned from a not turning
What do you
lane.
drive?
Actually, so I was driving my rent car because my car is still not done from my last wreck.
Okay, but what's your regular car?
Lexus SUV.
Okay. Because I really think people in Texas...
Does that matter?
Let me just...
We're just getting into
No, it does. Because I'll tell you why. I think there's some people in Texas that drive trucks, these big trucks, with these big wheels, and they drive terrible. They have no consideration for other people on the road.
Well, I can't help it if somebody doesn't follow hey, this isn't a turning lane. Probably not a good idea to turn from this lane into somebody that's going straight.
And I've seen it over and over again. I had one the other day, and he just it's a good job that I drive a little bit on the defensive side. But, to be perfectly honest, he just cut me straight up. It was just nuts. And I feel sorry for some of these 18-wheelers. Because they, it's very difficult to manoeuvre them 18-wheelers, and then you get people like Jim Adler, the tough, smart lawyer. I'm the hammer guy, and all he's doing is suing these 18-wheelers, and pushing up the insurance costs, which actually pushes up everybody's, cost of living.
Yeah, what's the one thing that I think nobody listens to here, especially since we don't have, for the most part, a big city with a lot of people walking on the roads, except if you go right downtown. But at the stoplight, there's always the white line that you're not supposed to cross. And that's supposed to help these 18-wheelers so that they can turn and stuff. And everybody always goes over those lines. Right, Laura? Mm-hmm. What do you think, Stephen?
Well, I'm looking at Laura. The way you said Laura, it sounds like that's
Laura.
Laura. Are you one of those culprits that goes over the line all the time?
No.
Oh, that was convincing.
When I'm on the road, the only thing that
What annoys you the most on the road of all things?
Okay, so I actually took a video this morning. As I was driving, I put my phone in the back of my head to record the person behind me. Guess what she was doing?
Putting on her makeup.
290 and Fairbanks. She was putting on makeup, swerving in and out of the road. Then she started eating, and she kept getting really close to my vehicle, and then she would back off. From 290 and Fairbanks, I actually moved lanes, and then she moves into my lane, right behind me. I'm like, woman, why are you following me? So then I went to another lane, to the slower lane, and slowed down. And she moved a couple lanes over. And I was like, okay, is this person following me or not? Because you know how I'm paranoid of creepy people.
I know you're paranoid. Yeah.
So, okay. So I kept driving, and then all of a sudden I'm heading towards 610, and everything stops. So as I come to a stop, I see this maniac going doot, 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 right behind me. And I'm like, oh my God.
Same person?
Same person. Everybody was trying to get away from her. So she was on my back for probably a good 20 minutes, and I was nervous because she kept doing all of this, and you could just see she was not paying attention. And then she was doing this and getting closer to my car, and one of the times I honked, and she just turned around what
was she eating?
I have no idea. She was eating
spaghetti
something.
or something?
I don't know. But it was one of those things that I was like, this woman is going to hit me. So, as you know, there was an accident further down the road. Long story short, like it was like, you know, you start letting people in, and I actually didn't let a car in because I saw that she kind of stayed behind because she wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh, sorry, I'm not going to let you in, but you can get right behind me.
What type of car was she driving?
She was driving a Ford SUV.
What type, an Escape or?
I have no idea.
That's what hit me, was an Escape.
It was a Ford SUV for sure. And I was like, this maniac. And she had like some big golden earrings that were like humongous, like very flashy.
So she wasn't paying attention to the road, and then
No,
obviously
neither was she,
you
because
weren't
she
paying
wasn't,
attention to
because
the
you were
road.
too busy looking at her.
No,
So
because
you
I
can't
had
see
the
where you're
phone
going.
there, and like I kept my distance from the car in front of me because I was like, if this
Did
woman
she have a
hits
newer
me-
vehicle?
Huh?
Did she have a newer vehicle?
He wouldn't
Wasn't
have been
too
if-
old. It wasn't too old.
I'm just saying, maybe it has those safety features. So she's like, oh, if I get too close, it'll beep. It'll stop it. No big deal.
Oh no.
Go
But
on.
I did videoed her because I was like, if she hits me, I have this on a video that she is a crazy person on the road.
So
But
What upsets me
a
most,
car got behind me, and long story short, she almost hit him because you heard the wheels squeaking and everything, and I was like, yes, perfect timing. I got away from her. But oh my God, I was like a nervous wreck when this person was just like,
the other thing that really pisses me off on the street, when I say cars driving along and they throw their trash out the window.
oh yes.
Make our city look like a piece of shit by all means. Just throw your Whataburgers and your McDonald's and everything else, just throw it out. That really upsets me, you know.
Yeah, I don't
And
know
I have
when they were
reported
trash.
a number of people, because I've got a video camera on my car.
But
of
what do
people-
they do if you report it?
You report it to the Texas Department of Transportation and they send them a litter bag. And in the litter bag it says that you've been spotted. You've been spotted throwing trash out your car. Please put it in this bag next time.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if that does anything, or
Of
just
course
eggs
it
them on
does
more.
nothing, but what I think it does do, what I think it does do is make them realise that there are people out there. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they make some sort of note.
I love the videos showing
so.
people coming up to cars that throw their litter out and throwing it back in their car. Have you seen those videos
I
before?
would love to do that one day. No, you know what? I would love to have like a rewind button to throw it back at them.
Oh, great. Let's
I just
just...
think it's a shitty thing to do. I really do. I think it's, it's really bad. Let me ask you another question just about cars. That's something that I used to, sort of enjoy a lot. That I've chose to like my rental properties because I can use them for my retirement. How long do you think, when you buy a car today, how long do you think, with the advances in technology, it should last for? If you maintain it properly, if you do all the correct things that you should do, how long do you think it should last for?
5 to 6 years, depending on how much you drive. Probably.
It
normal
depends
drive
what type
of
of car, what's the make.
Because a lot
Not
of
a Kia.
The trend now is minimalists, okay? Is that the Gen Zs, there's a lot of them that are minimalists, and they're basically saying, don't even bother buying a car, invest your money. Correct?
Yeah, I don't drive because I don't really go anywhere.
Right.
So, like,
Because she works at home a lot of the time.
yeah, I work from home and then.
Or I
don't
drop
live
you
too
off,
far.
don't I?
Yeah, like. even
And
if
I'm
I'm
more than
driving
happy to do that any time at all.
Because it's more expensive for me as someone who I only go out maybe 3 times a month. So it's more expensive for me. It would cost like $500 for car payments and then insurance and then gas. That's an extra $500. Whereas I don't really, go anywhere too often. So it's
If
like
I-
$200 to
if I-
$250 for me.
If I didn't need a car,
That's the point.
I wouldn't have a car.
Yeah, because I mean I don't.
I might have when we've done this before, we've had company cars, so when we've had properties to look at, then I've got a car to go. I've got a property like a foreclosure or something.
It's just, unfortunately...
to get to and from work, I would have no problem if there was a good metro system. It's just the metro system, but there needs to be a train.
Everything is just made so much cheaper nowadays. Like, even I found a whole box of my toys from the 80s and 90s, and those toys didn't break. They didn't rotten. They didn't do anything, and they are made solid compared to the toys now that you get from the store.
I'll be honest with you. I think the modern car, to be perfectly honest,
It's a piece of junk.
no, I don't. Quite the contrary. I think. I think some of the cars today, I expect my car to see me through the end of my life, to be perfectly honest. I think it should last 10, 15 years. I don't miss my oil changes. There's nothing. I've got additional warranties if something goes
With how many
wrong.
miles do you think you're going to put on that thing in 10 to 15 years?
Well, I was looking at an article the other week, and it was saying that there's some vehicles where they put 500,000 miles on a car.
But that's the exception, not the
No,
rule.
I agree with that. But I reckon realistically, I wouldn't. As you get older, I don't think you're going to put as many miles on the car on a weekly basis. You know, I mean, you know, and I know.
Yeah, well,
you know,
yeah,
I
if you get
wouldn't mind
retired.
retiring in 5 years. You know, from that point. But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, I'll still have the car. You know, and I'll still have the car, and maybe I'll put a little bit of miles on and still come to work and, you know, work part-time and hopefully still do the podcast. But
Because most cars nowadays, I think 150 to 200,000 miles before something major goes wrong with it.
What do you guys think the average car from, like, let's say the 90s would last you? Like, because I know people who are still driving longer. But, like, as
I
compared
heard
to
of
now,
somebody the other day that had a Suburban that had done over 500,000 miles, and it was a Suburban from the 70s, but it was a 6.4 litre engine.
So, average car life is around 12 years. A conventional car can
There you
last
go.
about 200,000 miles. Some well-maintained cars will reach 300.
Yeah.
But the average passenger car age is currently 12 years in the United States.
There you go. It's getting longer, it's not getting shorter, because the durability of some of the engines.
I don't know, my husband loves his original engine, F250 diesel that he has.
Yeah, a dirt pupa.
That thing we
Diesels.
call the tank.
Yeah, but diesel's a dirty fuel, so it really is. You ever driven behind one of them?
Yeah, they like to fart on you.
There you go. Yeah. And you got the air conditioning on. I can guarantee you that dirt is coming into your car, and you're getting a breathful.
I will have to say I've seen some on the internet where people are driving by in their diesel, somebody that made them mad.
They're not all dirty, but you know, all diesel engines aren't bad. But I feel a lot of it with companies, or you know, I mean, some of them are terrible. I was driving behind one the other day going home, and I'm like, oh, I've got to get away from this thing.
Yeah,
I
but if
mean,
you stomp
it's-
on a diesel on this diesel engine, you
I
gonna
mean,
have
it
a
was
black
literally-
cloud of
It
smoke
was
out the
literally
back.
black smoke coming out the back. And what?
I wonder if those are the ones that do not have DEF.
Of what?
Have what?
DEF.
What's DEF?
So my husband bought he has a new truck, which is a Ram? I don't know. It's a 3500 Ram. So that one runs on diesel and DEF diesel.
DEF.
I mean, DEF and diesel, sorry. So you pump diesel on the vehicle, right? And then you buy this big box of DEF, pour it in there, and I think it lasts for 2 or 3 tanks of diesel tanks of that truck.
So what happens is
supposed to
DEF
clean
is diesel exhaust fluid. So it's a special fluid that you put into the diesel car, right? And what it does is after the diesel exhaust exits the engine, but before it gets to the catalytic converter, it uses a special little system with this DEF fluid, and it converts harmful oxides of nitrogen into harmless nitrogen and water.
I really You tell your husband I've got a lot of admiration for him for taking that extra step.
Well, he came with the vehicle, so he didn't have a
Yeah,
choice.
but I mean, at least he bought a vehicle. I'm sure it might have cost him a little bit more for that, but.
But
you know,
just the
but
box, just the box itself. Okay, so I get it that they're trying to make the pollution or whatever, right? But these boxes where the DEF comes in are made out of cardboard boxes, and then the container is some sort of plastic thing, which I'm not sure if it's recyclable or not, but he spends a lot more doing that than just pumping gas. If he would have had a gas truck.
But
Says-
at least he cares.
It says usually you don't have to refill the DEF until you do an oil change.
No, that's not true.
Okay. I'm gonna take your word for it.
Because he has to, and his truck has like a little meter for the DEF. So like it measures it just like, like fuel.
I thought about buying I'll be honest, I thought about buying a truck at one point. But the
In
only
Texas,
reason
we love our trucks.
Yeah, they're just so you can run people off the road. But,
You know what? I'm a big bring the other gas truck tomorrow to the
but
office.
I quite honestly, my only problem with, well, I wanted a truck because of moving appliances maybe and stuff like that because of the rentals that I've got. It would have saved me money paying for people to move different things and moving them into storage and out of storage. But do you think cars lasted longer in the 60s and the 70s when you had like the Mustangs and the Corvettes? Because to me, they would have lasted longer then. I agree what you're
I
saying.
think so.
But I think from a mechanical standpoint, I think cars last longer now than what they used to.
So the
But
cars.
bodily, because the metal was thicker and everything, I think they would have lasted longer then in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, I've got an MGB 1972. It's a British car, but the body is still pretty firm. I've got a 1979, Rolls Royce. The body's pretty firm. It's still firm. It's got no problems, and it's all.
Yeah, back then, like the bodies and everything were built different. They
With
were
better
built
metal.
better. Yeah, now cars, the way that they're made, which is good in a sense, but not good. But they're made to take the impact of a wreck and not hurt the
Right.
occupants.
Right.
But that means you're going to destroy the car when you get in a wreck.
Well, you've got that the zone, haven't you? There's a zone now, an impact zone.
Yeah, you're going to destroy the car. And then, like nowadays, all of these cars have so many different electronics. So when stuff breaks on it, it's expensive to fix.
That's my wife. I've got to tell you a funny story. My wife, she drives a Mercedes, and she loves German cars, and she goes to the local Mercedes dealership. And this is a beware buyer point that I'm going to make for people. And with COVID and everything, you're always putting sanitizing on your hands. So she works at a medical facility and university, and I think, and this is what I put it down to, is because on her wheel for the Mercedes it was starting to go white in places. So she takes it into the Mercedes dealership and says, is there any way you can clean my wheel, because it didn't look good. And I'll be honest with you, I was just checking the tyres with the hot weather the weekend, and I seen this wheel, and I'm like, look, I can do something with the steering wheel. She says, well, I've been into the local dealership and they told me I need a new steering wheel. I'm like, no, you don't. So we literally go to a local store, we get some Armor All leather conditioner, we cleaned it up, and I've never seen my wife so happier, because it looks like a brand new steering wheel, which to me makes me think to myself, they're the dealers, they should be able to clean it up. Now, I was going to take it to one. I've got a favourite detailer just up here that I actually quite like, and I was going to take it up there, but being Father's Day I thought it'd be crowded, so I thought I'll just do it myself. And I cleaned this, and I cleaned the steering wheel up, and it was just like brand new by the time I finished. Just brand new. And so, beware with some of these dealers. I think it's very unethical, actually.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about Tropical Storm Brett. Gains momentum. He could be heading for the Gulf. I seen a projection on this about 3 days ago, and it said that if it went south of Cuba, then there was a very, very strong possibility that it could be heading for the Gulf. And if it goes into the Gulf, then it's either going to go up to Florida, the Panama City area. If not, it could be coming to Houston and paying us a visit.
I really hope not. I feel like we've dodged some big bullets these last few years on hurricanes.
When was the last big one? Brownsville? Was it a year ago, 2 years ago? It hit Brownsville and then it came up the coast and we just got bad rain.
Talking about Ike?
I don't know what it was. I think it hit Brownsville.
All I know is there's all the hurricanes for the last few years have been just going right of us towards Beaumont and Louisiana, and we have really been fortunate. So it might be our time to get one this year. Yeah. I'm afraid.
Which state do you feel has been hit harder with hurricanes? Because to me, there's one state in particular that's really been hit by hurricanes.
Florida and Louisiana?
Yeah. Actually, them are the exact two that I thought of. Florida and Louisiana.
I know Louisiana still ain't back up and running in a lot of places.
Well,
that
Louisiana
are
is
coast.
below sea level apparently.
I know New Orleans is below sea level. I don't think all of Louisiana is.
Yeah. And then Florida, apparently you can't. When you own a house in Florida now, it's mandatory for you to have insurance on the home.
I think they should make that.
Flood insurance or hurricane insurance or something. But it's actually mandatory in Florida, I believe. If that's not true, somebody could comment in. I really appreciate that.
Well, I really hope we don't get any this year. I hope we don't ever get one, but we haven't had one for a while.
Yeah, well, let's keep it that way.
So me and my sons, we've been looking for different stuff to do around Houston. I know Laura, she likes like the coffee shops and restaurants and stuff, but I'm more into the let's go and have fun kind of thing and doing different stuff. And one place I wanted to visit in Houston that I saw was really, really cool is this rooftop cinema club. Have you ever been before, Stephen, Laura?
I'm not one for venturing out. I've got 4 dogs. I'd rather sort of spend my time with my dogs, but... Well, we've got 4 now. Now my daughter's doing an internship with what's his name? Fatita, the restaurant guy. What's his name? He owns the Rockets. She's doing an internship for him, and she's enjoying it actually. But she might go to something like this, but I don't really go. So it's on the top of a roof.
Yeah, so it's pretty close to River Oaks, and it's actually on top of a roof. I know it's hot right now, but probably something that'd be really cool once it gets fall time. And they even have like little love seats you can sit in. It looks like a really cool place for like a date.
So yes, because they do have age limit. I looked into that because I wanted to do that with my daughter, but I think it's certain it has age limits. Like I was looking for a specific date, and it did have like an age limit. She had to be like 18.
I think it says that on all of them.
On all of them?
Yeah. But I don't think that that's the case because there's like a lot of kid movies there. I think they just have to be with somebody 21 and up.
I thought like after a certain time they try not to allow younger kids.
I could make so many comments on this that aren't appropriate.
But they play Mean Girls, so they...
What's that?
They gotta accept teenagers.
Every Wednesday you wear pink.
Talking about movies, I watched Suits last night on
Where's
Netflix
your
for the
pink?
first
It's Wednesday
time.
today.
I watched Flash.
The real Flash?
Yeah.
The original Flash Gordon?
No. Flash, the new movie that came out with Ezra Miller. And I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. but I really liked it. It was hilarious. I was cracking up laughing half that movie. So would you go to this,
No.
Laura?
To the rooftop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually looking into that.
I'd rather spend my time going to a good restaurant.
No, that looks like it's something fun.
It's like on top of a bunch of restaurants. Like it's around. It's in the middle of downtown.
The food that they have there looks pretty good too. I think they have some food, don't they?
I don't know.
They got alcohol.
Snacks.
Well, I don't drink, so. Place an order. You are toasttab.com.
But I think the tickets are around 20 something bucks a person. So it'd be cool watching the sunset up there. And they have some really cool lounging chairs as well.
I'd rather get a Galveston and eat seafood.
Then another thing that my kid said that he wanted to do was go to Putt Shack. Have you ever seen that one before,
Yeah, we're
Stephen?
going to talk about that now. Putt Shack, here we go. Putt.
So this actually came over from the UK. And it's almost kind of like a bar / DJ place / putt fun house.
I think something like this, putt, to be perfectly honest, is depending on how old your kids are. How old's your kid?
12 and 9. But
I
honestly,
think that's a perfect age for something like this, though.
I would go and do this myself with my husband.
Well,
Yeah, I think a lot of people go.
There's a lot of things I can say about that as well. I won't. But,
I am a kid at heart.
If
A lot of people
if it
go-
makes you happy, then I think you should go for it.
A lot of people go mini golfing for like first dates and things like that.
But the thing I like about this is it's air conditioned.
It is. It's air conditioned. It's
There
got
used
some
to be
really cool
there
different
used to be
holes.
a putt that on 59 Freeway in Hillcroft, and it used to be a go-karting centre as well. I forget what it was called. And I went there a couple of times, but it was brutal in the summer when you was there.
Yeah, and it has been extremely hot in Houston lately. Like, I feel like I'm melting when I go outside.
Oh yeah, 109 degrees.
You see, here's my problem with a lot of these places, and it's getting, as you get older, I think the quality of the food, you know, the quality of just American food in general, you know, it's not, I just don't think it's a good quality. And I think wherever you go, anywhere, if it's processed, then it's a problem.
Yeah, that's why you should cook at home.
You
I
know,
will say
and
that-
I'm personally, I'm trying to. I had a doctor's appointment yesterday, and he wasn't happy.
Aren't you supposed to be a vegetarian?
I'm trying.
Oh my gosh.
I
eat
ca-
Taco
I-
Bell every morning.
Do you know what my daughter cooked on Sunday that really was fantastic? She's working with Mr. Fertitta. You know, he owns the hotels and he owns the Rockets. I don't know what's it called. What's the name of the guy? Fertitta. What's his name?
Landry's.
What's it?
Landry's.
Landry's. Okay. Well, I don't know who she's been speaking to, but she's been cooking more recently. Since she's doing helping the she's an intern doing the marketing and everything else. And
His name is Tillman
Fertitta, there you go. Okay, and I've got to be honest, she cooked this steak the weekend, and it was the most beautiful steak I've ever cooked. She went to H-E-B's and she got this flank of steak.
H-E-B is wonderful.
She prepared it. She had the sauces, and she stole his. And she did this for us, and I'm telling you, it was great. I was no longer a vegetarian that weekend.
That was for Father's Day?
Yeah, it was actually. It was. And, you know, I have to eat more veggies. But my doctor's appointment went better yesterday. When I'll tell you what was interesting about my doctor's appointment, I had a mild cardiac infraction, which was basically a mild heart attack, last December, and they said that they thought that one of my arteries was clogged. So,
Cholesterol.
I don't know if you know, they basically told me that, you know, there's a drug called a statin that I can take, and I didn't want to take this statin. I believe in natural medicines whenever I can, and I've been doing this little mixture which you always make fun of. Now, but guess what? They Took it
Drink
yesterday,
ginger
and I put it down
and
to
lemon.
this: ginger, lemon, apple cider, and green tea. Every day I've been taking it. And have a guess what they said yesterday?
How's that working for you?
You are good to go.
You had good cholesterol?
They said that the blockage, they said they can't, they're still working it out, and now I've got to go see a cardiologist to make sure that they're not misdiagnosing the issue. But basically what they're saying is there's better blood flow through the heart.
Good.
So
That's great. That's
I
great news.
because when I had my
And you said that happened when,
I had my
2022?
when I had my seizure last year in June, I had my last epileptic seizure. I'm not joking with anybody, but I'm telling you that the fact of the matter is, when you put all your tablets in my hand, all right, it was terrible taking all them tablets, and it just didn't feel right. And all the tablets you take have a side effect,
They do.
Yeah, all
So-
medicine does.
you know. Anyway, but I'm all for a healthy lifestyle and medicine. And honestly, I suggest to anybody, take green tea, black tea. It's been proven. It's now started to be proven to help with different types of cancers.
Yeah, just don't pile sugar on top of it.
Yeah,
no sugar.
that's the three
It's totally
poisons.
the opposite.
What do they say the three poisons are?
Sugar and alcohol.
Sugar,
Fat. And caffeine. I don't know.
Like alcohol, sugar, because a lot of people
Alcohol's
think
like
that.
straight sugar.
No carbohydrates
No.
is one of them. Sugar, carbohydrates.
So there's a lot of people that eat diet, like sugar-free products,
That ain't good either.
which is still has something called like alcohol
Aspartame.
sugar. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what they call
aspartame.
alcohol sugar.
It's not good.
Yeah,
So
it's
sugar,
it's
alcohol,
worse
sugar.
for you technically, especially because that's more addictive than like regular soda. That's why you see somebody who drinks Diet Coke, they drink Diet Coke all day
and they think
long.
it's healthy.
Yeah, like
The healthiest drink
no,
to
you're
drink
an addict.
is water.
is water.
Sorry, but you're addicted. I don't know what to tell you.
0 calories, but you're still killing yourself.
Yeah. And then I wanted to talk about, and I have no problem telling people I'm a Democrat, but Hunter Biden will plead guilty in a deal that likely averts him. Hunter Biden will plead guilty in a deal that likely averts time behind bars in a tax and gun case. Let me tell you what I feel about this. I'm not bothered whether you're a Democrat. I'm not bothered whether you're a Republican. I'm not bothered whether you're an independent. I'm not bothered where your land lies. But if you do something that is, out of line in relation to corruption, or you lie on a federal level, then I think you've got what's coming to you. And I do think if this is the case with Hunter Biden, and he's done this stuff, and he's pleading guilty, and then you look at Mr. Trump, and then he's basically saying that the election was, set up, that it wasn't a good election, and he's saying he's hiding all these secret documents and such like. My answer to Mr. Trump is, stand up to your punishment. Don't try and split the country even more, because we don't need splitting up. We need to be working together.
What do you think about the timing of them, prosecuting Biden's son and all this Trump stuff going on?
What do I think about the timing?
It's kind of weird that both Trump and Biden's son are on the chopping block at this point.
I don't think the timing should be a case. To me, everybody, and this is one of the backbones of this country. Everybody is proven innocent. All right, everybody is innocent until proven guilty. All right, and I think the timing really doesn't matter. And I think people are looking into it more than it should. When you go through this, there's a stage that you have to go through. I mean, we've sort of been through it. Not this type of thing, but when it comes to fraudulence and everything else, when they take depositions and they do different things, and it takes time for that to go through, and then you have the right to appeal and different things, and I think it takes you longer to appeal if you appeal. But if not, what he's doing what? He's coming straight out and saying he's going to plead guilty. So if he pleads guilty, then it takes a shorter time to do the case. But Trump hasn't done that.
Yeah,
Trump's fought it all the way through along the line.
It says that he's going to get they're going to recommend 24 months of probation for tax charges. That's a slap in the hand. Probation.
Yeah, well, I think...
A regular American would get how many years in jail?
Well...
I'm sorry.
No.
They're making an exemption because he's Biden's son.
That's down to to me, that's down to the judge and jury, but to me, he should get a fine as well. If he hasn't been paying... What are they doing for IRS?
Tax charges.
$100,000 in taxes.
But you see, in all fairness, I'm going to point to the Republicans for that. What did they want to do with all the tax increases? What they want to do? Employ an extra 80 IRS agents? That to me, I'd like to see an extra 800 IRS agents to see people paying their taxes. How many times have you, as loan officers, got people to amend their taxes?
I don't have them amend their taxes. I've seen people that amend their taxes.
Do you think there's a reason for that?
I hardly see that. Like, it does happen, but I don't see that.
There's
often.
honestly 98% of the people that turn in their taxes, they haven't amended them.
Yeah, I would say...
That's about as much as I can say on that.
I would say like
not to get too much in detail.
97% do not amend their taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's even higher, honestly.
Uh-huh.
I think it's probably like almost 99% of the people.
And it's
do not
interesting
amend
reading
their taxes.
some of these. It says nobody should be above the law, but the more money you have to buy lawyers, the better off you will be. And I agree with that.
That's true.
Sad but true. We need to work our way back to civility, honestly, and integrity in this country, or else all will be lost. I'm old and thankful to have lived through some better times, and I completely agree with that. I don't think it should make a difference who you are. I don't think it's a difference when it is, as long as it's done. Personally, if he's on probation, I hope he's cleaning shit up for 24 months or whatever it is, and I think it's something that, needs to happen. It makes no difference if he's and I know what you said about that's a slap on the hand for him.
Mm-hmm.
So if Trump is
He also has a gun charge that states that
right.
he possessed a handgun.
I'm going to guess he's a convicted felon already, isn't he?
I don't know. I mean, he has a record.
But, to me,
I don't know.
he will definitely have a record after this. But the truth of the matter is, to me, how I see it, is if you've got somebody carrying top secret documents and nuclear things in somebody's house...
This has been a 5-year investigation.
That's what I'm telling you, but it takes time. It really takes time to go through. We had one...
I'm sorry, but it don't take that long for the regular Joe and Mary on the street.
No way. That is no way. That is not true. That is not true. We had one deal that came to an investigation with us, and it took 6 years to go through it. So that pushed up our errors and omissions insurance, and at the end of the day, guess what? Nothing came of it. Because when it came to a point of settling, all right, and when all the proof was come out, they decided to drop the case. And in the meantime, it had pushed up my errors and omissions insurance, because they're the people that pay for the attorneys. So it still cost me.
But if you were your average Mary and Joe on the street that has to have a court-appointed lawyer, you think it would have took that long?
That's the problem, and that's when you have to get a legal defender. What do they call it? No, a public defender. Is it a public defender you call them over here? And to be
Pro bono.
A pro bono. And you never
pro
know
bono's
what,
different.
And it is? How is it different?
Because the public defender is getting paid, right?
But a pro bono, it's a regular...
Pro bono means you're going to do it for free.
It's a good attorney that will do it for free.
For free, yeah.
A public defender is...
Getting paid from the state, and they're public.
Gets paid
And they
to
don't
screw the person
So let's sort
even
of,
further.
let's talk about something that's completely irrelevant then. Okay. The marijuana laws seem to be changing in Texas, correct?
I have
yeah.
no idea.
I think we're already legalized for medical, right? But it's hard. You have to jump through some hoops for it, from what I understand.
Well, I'm epileptic and I could get it if I wanted it,
Oh,
but I don't want it.
Okay.
All right. Never been into it. I just know it's never.
I think
never
it should be
affected
treated as any other medicine.
But what happens to some of these people that have gone to prison for 10 years for possession of marijuana? If it's legalized, what do you think should happen to them? Do you think they should be rolled out of prison?
Well, it's kind of the same thing as our housing. You know, sometimes when the house is built a long time ago, it ain't up to code, but you can't ding it for it because it was built to code when that was that time. When they broke the law and they knew they broke the law, that's what it was.
It's a thing. It's not. It's legalized, but it's not decriminalized, which I think is what people
But I
don't realize.
I think it's less
still,
though now, isn't it? Just a misdemeanor.
I have no idea what the actual. It probably is a misdemeanor.
I don't even think it's a felony anymore unless you're carrying like a ridiculous amount.
I just feel like some people need to take that into account, because just because it's legal doesn't mean that you can still go around with it, because it's legal federally. It's legal everywhere.
But that's anywhere though. I mean, a lot of prescription drugs, they're all legal, but if you're carrying them and they're not yours, or not even selling it and it's not yours, it's not your prescription, you can get a felony.
Well, I was listening to this attorney that I follow, and he's here in Texas, and he said something within the lines of, don't want to quote him exactly, but he said something within the lines that if you have a prescription, right?
Yep.
And you take that pill out of there,
the box. Yep.
and you just put it in a little sandwich box, like in a sandwich baggie or pill box, and you carry it around, because a lot of people do this, right?
Yeah. They
Like
put them in
your-
like the little containers for
Your
pills.
7 day, whatever, and blah, blah. If a cop pulls you over, and for whatever reason they search your car or whatever, you could get
Arrested
because
for felony charges. Yep.
for charges because you don't have your medication
But that's the same
in the
thing.
prescription bottle. I did not know that.
If you're
That was, like,
driving your
news to
car and you don't have your insurance with you, they can give you a ticket for it. What do you
Well,
got to do?
yeah.
You got to go to court, fight it, and prove that you had insurance at that time. Same thing. Those pills are felony to carry unless you have the prescription with
The
you.
prescription
So you're
bottle.
going to get charged
Yeah,
till you prove that they were yours.
I did not know that. That
I
was
mean-
new to me. I was like, oh, I learned something new.
Well,
today.
think about the
in
cops.
my car, I carry a Ziploc bag and I have one of
Oh,
every pills
Steven.
that I have. All right. And I carry it because, if I'm driving and I don't feel well, then I take a pill and pull over to the side of the road.
We're gonna call Crime Stoppers on you.
But I
Wouldn't be
didn't know
first
that
time.
was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's a thing. Trust me.
I think they should have the right to appeal, and like you said, the amount should be taken into consideration. If it's legalized now, I feel like you should have the right to appeal it, and then as long as you don't have over 50, 60 pounds of marijuana.
Oh, it's not going to be
like,
pounds.
You should
That's a lot. What, 60 pounds?
Yeah.
If you've got 50 or 60 pounds, you should sell them and retire. Just
You'd be carrying
just
bricks
make-
of that stuff.
Just make sure you don't get caught.
People, when I lived in California, people were crazy. I would just say that. They had a lot. I mean,
Do you think
it was bad?
that's part of the black problem in the prisons, though? Because there's so many black people that have been locked away for marijuana possession.
I think that's a big thing. I think one of the reasons that it was so heavily criminalized is because
Initially?
Black and Latinos that's one
Minorities.
Latinos
Yeah.
and minorities
I
were
would
the
just say
ones. that-
minorities.
because it's. I mean,
What, are we saving the cocaine and meth for the white people? Is that what we're doing?
I mean, no, but
No,
what
no,
I'm
no.
saying is that drugs are heavily like Black and Latino people. That's how they had to get by because they weren't able to get jobs
Oh, you mean
other
as a
industries.
distributors?
Yeah, as distributors. So when they go,
We're talking about drug dealers, not as
Yeah.
users. Okay, continue on.
Yeah, so it's because there are a lot of white college kids who, you know, sell cocaine and they didn't get hit as hard. Like, it's like the Hunter Biden situation where it's just like, it's all about who you know and how you are. So I think that the war on drugs is different because the United States brought the drugs in here originally anyway. So it's a proven thing. The CIA brought cocaine into the United States and then distributed it and, you know, helped people learn
Who? The
how to
CIA?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a I know what you're
I
talking
gotta
about.
read that
I
story.
watched
What are we
it.
talking
Me too.
about?
What story is that?
We'll talk about it off
We
podcast.
talked. I've seen.
Is that
I've
like
heard-
conspiracy theory? Is that what we're doing?
No, it's a proven thing.
Apparently, it's a proven thing. I don't know how
Proven thing.
proven it is, but there's also this thing about some documents released on Discord about
On our Discord or somebody else's?
no somebody else's
It's got to
Discord.
be a conspiracy
No,
theory.
wait. That Biden is trying to overtake Mexico because of the foreign policy, because the Mexican president is not abiding by their commitment, which he's spending that money instead of an immigration, they're spending it to help their people down in the southern parts of Mexico. And Biden is pissed off because it's hurting the infrastructure of companies in the U.S. I was like,
That's got to be a.
I was like, what is that about?
You know, that's got to
I
be a
don't know.
conspiracy theory.
But I heard it at the same channel that
That's like saying, you know, from the MAGA crowd that all liberals are pedophiles or whatever. I mean, that's just.
no, I heard it in the same channel.
What do you
where
call 'em?
Drugs,
Pedophiles.
Pedophiles?
pedophiles.
Pedophiles.
You don't say it properly. You got to learn to talk real American.
Say jaguar.
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 Oh, there's a new term for pedophiles, though. Minor attracted person.
Yeah,
What?
those people are going to hell.
MAP.
They need to.
They're trying to make it a, like you just
Acceptable.
said, like liberals, you know, how they think that
no
they're
way.
all, you know.
But it's only the MAGA
pedophiles.
crowd that are saying this. That's what I
No,
think.
but minor attracted people, those people are trying to come together and make it like a part of the LGBTQ plus community, and they're
Yeah.
saying that that's they're just attracted to minors and they're attracted, which is like, no.
I don't think the
That's not the same
LGBT
thing.
community is linked to that.
Yeah, they
I'm
don't.
sorry.
Yeah, they're like, what? Don't put us into this because it's not. They should. I think that that's so weird. And they're trying to create their own flag and
What?
trying to make it a whole movement. It's like,
Oh God.
yeah, they call themselves MAPS. And it's
We're
Did
gonna
you see
end
that
with
one
that
that I
one.
put in about? We was talking about this last week, and I just want a 2-year-old strapped to booster seat in 15 hours dies in Florida.
why was she in the booster seat? for
Who?
15 hours?
15 hours is just
What
ridiculous. A 2-year-old strapped to a booster seat for 15 hours dies in Florida, cops say. Mom was charged. A 2-year-old boy died after he was strapped to a chair as punishment. I mean, what?
I wonder why the mom is charged, because, I mean,
Because the kid died.
well, I understand that, but there is mistakes made. Think
Yeah,
of how
but
many
this is
kids
for-
have died because
it
of
says
mistakes.
Here, a 2-year-old
It
boy
says-
died after he was strapped to a chair as punishment.
Oh,
Flipped
never mind.
over
I
in
take
the
my statement
chair,
back.
Suffering from seizures and shaking uncontrollably in the morning.
And I just want to sort of go through something. I was talking about this last week with my dogs, where I leave them in the car and I have the windows open. They're not in there for long times. It might be just 2 or 3 minutes, but not 15 hours. This was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And when it's this heat, like this weekend, I haven't brought my dogs to work, well, a dog to work, because it's just too hot to bring them out of the house. They need that air conditioning in their house.
I think there was way more going on than just her strapping him in the chair.
My mom is all about creative punishment, and so when my sister misbehaved.
Creative punishment.
Yeah, so this is like a creative punishment, I guess. But he was 2, which is crazy. It's like no, that's just neglect. Like, he's 2. But when my sister was like 11 or 12, we had columns, and she left my sister on the front porch for like 6 hours because she was misbehaving, and so that was her timeout, and she strapped her to the front porch, but
Strapped her with what?
she tied her to the column in the front porch.
She
That was her.
strapped her.
Yeah, that was her creative punishment because my sister didn't react to like getting spanked or anything because my sister was a really bad kid. So
Do you know what?
it's like
It fascinates me because in the 60s and the 70s when we went to school, I had one teacher called Mr. Koshall, and I was always, believe it or not, known as the clown of the class. And it's actually in my report. I'll even bring the report in where it says Stephen would do a lot better if he wasn't always clown of the class. That was in my report. And Mr. Koshall used to make an example of me. But I used to draw a little circle with a piece of chalk on the wall, and I had to put my nose on the wall. And then I had to catch up the class in my own time.
oh my gosh.
And then there was another teacher called Mr. Bergen at the time in the 60s and the 70s, where if you did anything, you did it wrong. Ever guess what a 12-inch ruler was for?
You did.
It would be smacked up your over your hands. And that's when, you know,
The hands have a lot of
penmanship was
nerves too. That
important.
hurts.
If your penmanship wasn't done properly or anything, and it just goes to show how times have changed.
Yeah,
You
know,
can't, and especially in America, you can't even touch the kids now. And I think there's a lot of families out there that are dysfunctional.
I think that kid being 2, it's really weird, like the ways that things are happening, because it's the same thing with the chicken nugget thing. I don't understand why people aren't paying attention to their kids. Like,
I
why do you
agree
leave
with
a
that.
kid overnight for 19 hours? That's really ridiculous. That's
Actually,
long
I have a
time.
point. There's something I just want to talk about quickly. All right. I got really upset the other day with Taco Bell, which I like. All right. I've stopped going to McDonald's because I don't like their salads, but I like Taco Bell and I like their power bowls. So I'm in there, and you've got to go onto this big iPad, and you've got to place your order. All right. Nobody's at the front counter. They're all messing around in the back. You're right. You know, on their phones, playing games, whatever. And I'm thinking, what an absolute mess this is becoming, because they won't take orders at the front. I walked out of 3 orders the other day and I thought that's all fine. But you know, I used to sort of work in a restaurant, and it's always storage, preparation, cook and serve as far as the food comes through. But when you've got a quick food establishment, then basically what's happening is you need somebody normally to order the food. Well, that's great as far as their bottom line is concerned. All they're doing is preparing the food in the back. But to me, you're getting a better service when you do the drive-through, and that's what I think it's for, is to promote the drive-through and not the dine-in.
There's more and more establishments that are not having those cashiers and stuff. They're having everything electronically where you order yourself.
I don't like it personally, because all they're doing is messing around in the back. There's no customer service. If there's a problem with your order, then what do? Well, this is what you ordered.
Like, I went to Crumble Cookie. There is no cash there. There's no cash register. There's nothing. You go there.
I think having no cash is a good point, because that, you know, but as far as, I think what's happened to good old American customer service.
Crumble Cookie reminds me of an Apple store.
Yes.
You just go in there and that's it.
Click, click, click.
Yeah.
Done.
Anyway,
Well, there's very few options for Crumble Cookie.
Yeah,
Like,
they have 5 cookies.
I mean, are you gonna order a s'more cookie with no s'more, or like some high maintenance people order fish with no fish? Andres, I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so is that it for this week?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yep.
We've finished our fool around time. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for tuning in. If you have any comments, please post them. Like, subscribe, and we'd like to catch up with you on a regular basis. And from Lone Laura Zuniga, Lone Laura, and also Courtney Guerra, Lone Courtney. How do we go to you, Laura?
Laura at lspmortgage.com.
And for me, 832-409-7908 and Courtney at lspmortgage.com.
And if you want to contact me, C21 Olympian TX on social media. And, please reach out, contact us, or you can contact me on 713-550-0096. So we look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day, have a great week, and play hard and live hard.